properly, we should be able to catch a little bit of sunset, which should give you some very, very nice postcards. And without any further ado, let me turn the camera around and get started. Hi, Alison. Hi, Catherine. Thank you so much for joining. Hi, Eliza again. So good to see you. Well, here we are in the Magdalena perimeter. We are actually looking right now at one of the areas where we have the sea lions. And here, and on the edge, where all of those people are accumulating, is where the penguins are, which, as you can see, is completely crowded. I thought both the sea lions and the penguins were being fed at 5, but it turns out that the penguins are being fed at 5:30. And of course, as the kids are off school, everyone has brought their children here to see this, because the precinct of the Magdalena is all free, guys. You don't actually have to pay a penny to come in here. Hi, Melissa. Hi, Sam. Hi, Cheryl. Thank you so much for joining. It is beautiful sky. We're going to have a really, really lovely sunset and evening. So I'm so glad that we are here to do this. Well, I wanted to show you the few penguins that are still living here in the Magdalena, but I don't think that will happen. As you can see, it's pretty surrounded, so we may have to go around. What I'll be able to do, though, is give you some of the views from that side of the Magdalena. Well, the area that you're seeing now has been quite controversial because this is a little zoo, and for a long time we even had a polar bear here and some lions. And you're probably wondering, why? Well, that's what I wonder now as an adult. Obviously, as a child, it was awesome to be able to come see animals like this without having to pay a penny for free. But it turns out that, well, for the sake of conservation, this was never really the greatest idea. So the space has been changing over time to try and protect the animal life, essentially. Now, I think we may be able to see the penguins quickly. You see them? Well, there is one there. There is one right there. And there is another one just over there. They're just waiting to be fed. I think the food is dropping on the other side, so they may have just moved over. There you go. That's the feeding man right there. So they're coming. Very, very charming. Hi, Memphis, Stefan. How are you doing? We're just following these little penguins that are about to have their food being delivered before we get on properly with the tour. So as you can see, this is great entertainment. Hi, Jacqueline, how are you? And it never really occurred to anyone, back in the 70s, 80s, when this was a very popular area, even in the 90s, when I was a small child, that these animals really shouldn't be here under the conditions that they were kept at. Hi, Katie, how are you? Thank you so much for joining us. So, it's been really over the years that the bigger animals, the lions and the polar bears, were obviously removed from here and taken to the actual natural park that we have on the outskirts of Santander, to Cabárceno. Hey, Joe, thank you so much for joining. Hope you're doing good. Well, we have to move on. Hi, Mel. Thank you so much for joining. We may be able to see perhaps some sea lions on the other end. Yes, there is one here posing for us, guys. Let's see if you can catch him. Hi, Nina. Thank you so much for joining, Nina. So this is the controversy. It's great to be able to have this engagement with animals, but at the same time, we need to take care of their well-being. I don't know if you can see if I put the view a little bit higher up. Hi, Helen. Hi, Maria. Hi, Melinda. Hi, Hope. Thank you so much for joining us here. That barrier where you see the fence there, that goes directly over to the sea. When we have really high tide and waves here, the water from the sea literally goes into the enclave, and that can be quite dangerous because if there are, algae, bacteria, or something that get into here, there is no way of controlling that space, and the animals can get quite sick. So, unfortunately, they are not necessarily in the greatest location. There they are. Well, they are going to be a bit difficult to photograph from here, so let me see if I can move on and get them from a different angle. But this is the reason why the Magdalena area is so popular, because you get this lovely enclave with the animals. Well, we are going to walk by the other end, so I can give you the views of El Sardinero Bay, and on the way up we may be able to see some more of the animals there. Those are the seals. There is two enclaves, one with seals and one with sea lions. And Adrian, for my life, I don't know how to differentiate them. So I'm glad that you realized these were the seals, because honestly, they look the same to me. I'm sure there is a difference, but they look the same to me. So apologies for my bad biology. And these are the views here of El Sardinero. So those of you who did the tour of El Sardinero with me the other day, you may recognize that's part of the avenue we were walking by. And all of that is the lovely, lovely coast of the Cantabrian Sea, alongside to the area of the Cape Cabo Mayor with the lighthouse. Ooh, the water is being a bit fierce over here, so I need to be careful that we don't get caught. Oh, that's good to know, Adrian. You have to tell me how to differentiate them for the next one, because honestly, I'm just useless at that type of stuff. So as you can see, the views here are rather lovely. We're just gonna walk by to the other side of the edge, and maybe I can give you a better view of the seals from this time around. But this is very nice lighting that we have right now, so here we go. Right, let me just wait for a few people to come by. I think the seals have gone swimming now. I can't see them around right now, so maybe they've gone hiding, but I'll see if we can find them again. And we're just gonna start making our way to where those little boats are there on top of the hill. In the meantime, please enjoy some more views of the Cantabrian Sea and the view of El Sardinero from the Magdalena Beach. But as you can see, we're literally right next to the rocks and the cliffs. Seals move along on their belly. Oh my God, I didn't know that. That's so cool. Right, I just need to take this corner, guys, so please bear with me. Let's see. Yeah, the seals have definitely gone to their nap. So there we go. Hi, Melissa. Thank you so much for joining. Hope you're doing good. This used to be the enclave where they had the polar bears, which, as you can see, now, it has some other animals. I don't know. With the new information that we have, guys, it's your job to assess whether these are seals or sea lions that are hanging around here. F-seal. Oh my God. John, that's quite hardcore. Hi, Sue. Hi, Karen. Hi, Mark. How are you guys doing? Thank you so much for joining. There we go. Okay, well, now that you've seen a few of the animals that we still have here, the idea is that when these sets of seals and sea lions, because there are sea lions on the other enclave, die or are no longer fit to sort of live in here, this area will be repurposed for God knows what. We don't really know what they will do in here. So not entirely sure what will be done. We do. Oh, okay. We have a baby. We have a baby one here, but I don't know if you can see it. She's kind of fallen asleep right underneath the fence. But this is kind of one of the reasons why the conservation authorities, are quite poignant on the fact that these animals really should not be living here much longer. So there is the baby one there. Let me zoom. Definitely quite asleep. I can see her little, yes, definitely taking a nap. But there you go. So these are the views of the zoo. Let me give you a round look. Okay, and now we're gonna go up to where the replicas of the boats that did the circumnavigation for Spain and help with the cartography effort of Juan de la Cosa are, which are just over here. That is a seal, excellent. The baby gray seal definitely looks very much like an infant. Either that or it's a tiny seal, the tiniest seal I've ever seen. And here, like I said, we have the replicas of these Spanish ships that did the circumnavigation of the world. Obviously, they're done at scale, as you can see. We cannot go in them. We can only just see them from here. And there is a couple other things here that I would like to show you, other than the view from the balcony that we will go to in just a moment. Hi, Rona. How are you doing? Thank you so much for joining us here in Santander. Hope you're having a really good day. So these replicas were all done by the same mine, Vidal. We'll be talking about him and knowing a little bit more about him in just a few moments. Let me just give you a few good shots of the ships. These are very iconic here, and they were sort of displayed on the grounds of the Magdalena, kind of to be a little sort of open-air museum. Very, very little, because we only have these three ones here. And this is a replica of the figurehead of the Marigalente, which was actually built in Veracruz, in Mexico, in the 80s, as a way to commemorate the cartography efforts as well for the Americas. Let me just get here. Oh, I didn't know about that, Adrian. That's so cool. I do like the gray seals, personally. Let me see if I can get the whole thing in there. There we go. Awesome. Well, before I move on to the last of the ships, I will get on to the balcony so I can give you another chance of taking some views in from the Cantabrian Sea. So today we're going to be looking at both the Cantabrian Sea and the bay. So you will see two different sides of our waters here. Hey, Cheryl from Preston, how are you doing? Oh, yes, I've heard about the seal sanctuary in Skegness. I have a friend who is quite into marine biology, and he actually did some volunteering over there. So I have heard about that one. Well, so here you see the edge of the Magdalena Peninsula. Hi, Gregory, how are you doing? Thank you so much for joining. And here are the lovely, lovely views that we are having tonight as the day is starting to come to an end. I think the astronomical sunset is supposed to be in about 10 minutes, which is the reason why we're starting to have these lovely, lovely colors on the sun, the sky. And like I said, for those of you who have just joined now, what you're seeing again is just the edge of El Sardinero. So if you were with me in the Sardinero beach the other day, that's what you're seeing. And yes, I'm heading to the ships just now, Alison. Don't worry. Hi, JV. Hi, Tapio. How are you guys doing? Thank you so much for joining. Here you go, Alison. These are the three replica ships that actually went around doing the circumnavigation and cartography efforts for Spain during the Spanish Golden Age. No, you can't go on them, Jeannie. They're completely sort of just purely for show. There were actually some attempts of vandalism when I was little. They actually had to fence this off properly. As you can see now, they just have this little bush, but they had to fence them off. And as you can see, there is no actual proper way of getting inside. So it was just purely supposed to be here to sort of help kids and people understand, what these boats were and how important they were for Spain. And then here on the other side, we have another very important boat. Hi, Mag. How are you doing? Thank you so much for joining, which is this raft. Again, this is a replica of the raft that Vidal actually used to traverse the Pacific Ocean like the Kon-Tiki embarkations had done in the past. And who is this Vidal guy that I'm talking about? Well, let me take you to the spot where we have a picture of him. And That way you can also get to see him and meet him a bit better. And I think from the edge here, I should be able to get you a shot of the Kon-Tiki and the 3 ships, or at least 2 of them. Here we go. Excellent. Brilliant. Well, the man that we owe this to has just a picture here in one of the, there is some tiny information panels that you can read up with a QR code. And this is Vital Alzar. So Vital Alzar was a local from here, from Santander, very important in Cantabria. And he was, well, he kind of considered himself like a modern day Don Quixote from, Cervantes' famous book. And he sort of just wanted to explore the world and confirm that these things were actually possible in the way that ancient people and in the Golden Age had been done. So he actually did a lot for improving our modern knowledge of, just general navigation through manual means without actually using, proper technology that we have in this day and age in navies and whatnot. And he did a lot of this also to try and promote the idea that we were all one people and that navigation had been part of people's way of life all around the world, whether you came from Santander, from Cantabria, or whether you came like the people that, run the Kon-Tikis from the areas of the Pacific or America. It didn't matter. He just kind of wanted everyone to come together under this knowledge and appreciate the heritage and the history that they had, which, is a very nice gesture and something that definitely the people of Santander thought it was important to preserve. Well, since the light is starting to go down, it is important that we start making our way up the hill, otherwise we will run out of light. Hi Elaine, how are you doing? Thank you so much for joining us here in the Magdalena Peninsula. Well, I am going to head now towards the palace, and to do that we just need to follow the road alongside the royal park of La Peninsula of the Magdalena. All of this that you see here, again, is open to the public 24/7. And this whole area was pretty much just wild up until the late 19th century, early 20th century, when the King and Queen of Spain, Alfonso XIII, and his wife, Victoria Eugenia, bought the lands to build a palace. Now, when we get to the palace, you will realize that it looks a lot more like a manor house from the UK than perhaps what you think of as a palace. But then again, this is a very modern palace. So that's partially the reason why. And the other reason for it is because Victoria Eugenia was actually descendant herself of Queen Victoria. She was British. And when she came here to Santander, she was a very modern woman, unlike anything the country had seen. And she actually had a huge impact on our fashion, on our architecture, culture, etc. So the King and the Queen of Spain at the time really helped reshape this whole area that you see here. And that's the moment in time when the area of the Magdalena and El Sardinero become, what you're seeing now. The actual royal park becomes a forested park. There is actually people taking care of these woods right now and making sure that biodiversity is promoted. We do a lot of culling of trees that are sick. And because we're right by the sea, excuse me, and we have, quite a tempestuous weather sometimes, even though we haven't really seen it this time around, we get a lot of things like lightning and, general storms that can really affect the area. So they take the preservation of the area quite seriously. Hi Graziella, hi MB, how are you guys doing? Thank you so much for joining us here at the Magdalena Peninsula. Well, the palace that you're gonna see in just a moment is no longer owned by the King and Queen of Spain. All of this was actually donated to the city of Santander after after the dictatorship in the 70s for the symbolic value of 1 peseta. The pesetas were the coins that we had prior to the Eurozone. So for 1 peseta, which is even less than one cent in the US, they donated it to us so we could do, whatever we wanted with it. For a really long time, it had already been an institutional sort of organization for education, and then it get properly converted into one of the main residences for our international university, Menendez Pelayo. Hi Nelly, how are you? Thanks so much for joining us, and thank you so much, Katie, for the tip. I very much appreciate it. Oh, well, excellent, right on time, Graziella. I'm so glad that you managed to make it. Hi Tony, how are you doing? Thank you so much for joining us here at the Magdalena Palace. Oh, I'm a little bit breathless, guys. I actually walked all the way to the Magdalena from my house, which is about a 40-minute walk up the hill. So maybe I should have grabbed the bus, but hey, it was a very nice day. I didn't want to ruin it. And oh my God, we can actually see the festive Magdaleno. Okay, so as you can see, Magdalena is the name of the area. And this train in the summer just takes you around, with the kids, so you can see the whole area and learn a little bit more about it. But because it's Christmas, they've donated it to the whole city. So it goes from here all around town, playing Christmas carols and showing things like that. Hi, Adrian. How are you doing? Thank you so much for joining. Oh, right. Let me catch my breath for just one moment. So this is now used by the International University Menendez Palayo for quarters for the exchange students and for conferences mostly. It's also used for things such as weddings and big events of that type. And when it's not used for that type of stuff, you can actually visit it. I must admit, I've gone in there. It's only six euros to access, so it's not super expensive or anything. But I've gone in there a couple of times. And although the guided tour and the guide was really good, the materials that they have inside are frankly quite uninteresting. If you've been to any other palaces around the world, it will leave you quite underwhelmed. If you just want to learn a bit more about the history, it's a great place to come and get that knowledge. But inside, there isn't actually a lot to see. So you're already getting the best of it. There seems to be an event of some sorts for children in here today, which is the reason why it's quite busy. Hi, Claire. How are you doing? Thank you so much for joining. Oh, thank you so much, Polly. Very much appreciate it. And I hope, particularly those of you who are from the UK or some of you that have toured in the UK a fair bit, that you can see what I mean with the fact that more than a palace, this looks like one of those super huge manor houses that we are so full of in England and around. But the most amazing thing, at least from my perspective, of the palace is the surrounding areas. The views that the kings and queens of Spain had at the beginning of the 20th century from here were absolutely stunning. And that's the reason why it was also donated to the city with the aim of protecting the local area. This, like I said, is literally just about 40-minute walk from my house, which is right in the city center. If I was to catch the bus, I could be here in 10 minutes. And it's all for free, apart from going inside the palace itself. I cannot tell you how privileged we are to have this, area full of nature right in the middle of a town of like Santander, which is just about 200,000 inhabitants. It's not something you can find everywhere. Well, let me get you to the postcard preferred spot. Hi, Michael K. How are you doing? Thank you so much for joining us here. Because the Magdalena Palace is one of the most emblematic monuments of the city of Santander. So in the kiosks and the shops where you can buy postcards in here, is normally one of the things that you can actually buy. And there is one, or actually two specific spots that the professional photographers normally come to get the postcard image for. So I'm gonna try and get you that exact same shot. But here from the front, I'm sure you can see those traceries in fake wood, which try to imitate the idea of this, mock Tudor Victorian type of manor house. It gives me, particularly from this angle, and I don't know if anyone else sees it, but a bit of a vibe of Windsor Castle. But maybe that's just me. That's what I see, at least. Well, the most famous view is just a little bit farther along the way. Oh, good. I'm glad you see it, Alison. It's not just me then having strange thoughts in my mind. Awesome. I'm glad that you see it too, Juan and Beth. And hi, JM. How are you doing? Thank you so much for joining us. Right. So the first postcard that a lot of people like taking is this one, with the tower, the stairs, and the two fake wooden traceries. And I'm just gonna turn around now so I can show you the view from here, which is the other one people normally like taking. Can you see why a lot of people want to get married here? Because then you go and have the ceremony inside. You can use the grounds for whatever you want. It's honestly quite a magical place. Very expensive, obviously, but a very magical place to get married at. So if you're lucky enough, maybe we'll see you here at some time for a wedding. Hi, Andreas. How are you doing? Thank you so much for joining. And thank you so much, everybody, for the follows. Very much appreciated. And now, on the other side of the palace, on the side that we've walked, you've been seeing the Cantabrian Sea and the coast of El Sardinero. But on the other side, from that tower that I've just shown you, what you get to see is the Bay of Santander and the woods, which, as you can see, is another different type of view, very, very different, and yet equally stunning. Happy holidays to you too, JM. So happy to have you here. Well, we're going to make our way down there so you can see the bay before I run out of light, because the postcards at this time of the day from the bay are sincerely quite nice. But before we do that, I'm going to get you the angle from the corner for the palace so we can see it one more time. Okay. And just a little bit of context, because it will be useful for us later. The people that came here to study traditionally were international students, mostly from France, that came to do specific sandwich, we call them sandwich courses in the summer for specific disciplines of history, languages, politics, etc. Hi, Kevin and Cecile, how are you doing? Thank you so much for joining us. And this is the acclaimed view of the Magdalena Palace without, and let's see if I can get it without one of the street lights. There we go. Well, I would like you to think about those students when we are farther down onto the beach, because those students will actually play a little role in an anecdote that shapes the history of this part of town. Hi, Teresa, how are you doing? Thank you so much for joining us here in the Magdalena Palace. Well, unfortunately, we need to move on, since we are really starting to catch now the sunset, and otherwise we will not have light to enjoy the views of the bay. So here are a few last shots while I walk. Thankfully, there is no one here right now, so I can walk backwards without getting hurt. So make sure that you take all of that in. And for those of you who have just joined recently, this palace is actually right from the beginning of the 20th century, and it was commissioned by King Alfonso XIII to become the summer house here in Santander. What I haven't told you before is why they decided to put it here. Well, of course, apart from the views, it was because at this moment in time, since the 19th century all the way to the 20th century, people around the world realized that spending time by the sea was better for your health. Hi, April and Justin, how are you doing? Thank you so much for joining. And thank you so much, Alison, for the tip. I very much appreciate it. Well, the thing was that here in Santander, with the coastline that we have, we were very popular for something called baños de ola, which literally means the bathing by the waves, which is very much a sort of spa ritual where you just go. The brisk energy of the sea, helps your skin and your body feel invigorated, and therefore you are, you're good as new, essentially. So the king and the queen started coming here for that reason, and everyone else in Spain wanted to follow suit, and that's the reason why this area of Santander becomes so popular. Thank you so much, Juan and Beth. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Well, this is the last view that you're going to have of the Cantabrian Sea, because we are now entering the area of the Bay of Santander. Everything that you see here, like I said, is just part of the Royal Park of the Magdalena, and this is actually one of the oldest pines that we have here, that is actually been, I don't know if you can see the nests that we have in there. We have serious problem in Cantabria with a type of worm, a type of insect, the processionary worm, that is actually quite damaging to the trees. They need to make sure that none of these are actually getting, done under by these worms. So I suspect this one will be getting a visit from the from the park management team very, very shortly. Right. Okay, I need to go down the hill and then take a shortcut through the woods so we can make it to the other side and to the bay before the light goes off. So please enjoy the views while I walk down as fast and as safely as I can, because I don't think we want me to fall off around here. It's actually quite dangerous. I don't know if you've noticed, we are right next to a few of the cliffs. In fact, if I get a clear shot, I'll be able to show you here on the left that we are right on the edge of the peninsula, right on the cliffs. Hi Carla, how are you? Thank you so much for joining. And there's actually, unfortunately, still to date, every single year we get a couple of accidents of people who weren't careful enough, or that, well, in this day and age with social media, unfortunately, they decided to come right to the edge of the cliff to take a really nice picture of the sea, and unfortunately, the waves took them. Because pleasant as it may look right now, I can guarantee you that the Cantabrian Sea is a force to reckon with. So that's the edge of the cliff, and that is the help to the lighthouse that you see there on the little islet there. That is the auxiliary lighthouse for the big one right outside the Sardinero beach. Hi Rick, how are you doing? Thank you so much for joining us. And this is the very spot where the Cantabrian Sea and the Bay of Santander collide together. So we are now officially entering the territory of the Bay of Santander. Right. I need to just retrace my steps a couple of moments because I've missed the shortcut. So bear with me while I get myself there, since I don't particularly want to go down that slope, as it looks, a little bit dangerous. So since there is a shortcut here that is actually a human path, I will get there. Cannot believe you have so much more light than us. I know, Ginny, is what 1 hour difference makes, right? Because I'm literally not that far away. We are as far up north in Spain as you can get, guys, without being straight on the mountains in the Pyrenees. So we are just an hour ahead of the UK. And it does make such a difference. Right now in Southampton, it would be pitch black. And here, when the night falls, it falls very quickly. But, well, as you can see, we still have that golden hour. I'm quickly trying to chase for you guys so we can enjoy that. Now here you have the side of the Magdalena known as Los Pinares, because these are a particular type of pine trees that are autochthonous, local to this area. And here on the other side, you will see a few other species. And that's because, well, as much as we try to keep it local, during the 20th century, in this attempt of making the royal gardens look even cooler, there were introductions of, other species, mostly from the United States, and the sort of areas of the old Spanish Empire. And we here have a small area where they are trying to repopulate. We lost several trees in the last couple of winters because of storms and thunder, so they have a quite active program with these little sprouts that you see there to keep it going. And sometimes pine trees is not necessarily what you want to keep the soil strong and able to carry on biodiversity, because, well, pines of particular types can make things very, very arid, so they introduce other trees just to have a little bit of a chance at saving the soil. And we are almost right on the edge of the bay. So let me take you to our next stop, which is the beach. We're gonna go to one of the most popular beaches here in Santander. Before that, let me give you the last views of the Royal Park. I did. Thank you so much, Carla. I hope you did too. And happy holidays, anyone who has just joined recently. And let's see if I can get... Yeah, there is no car coming. Not usually cars around this time of the day here. But here we go. Hey, Jean, thank you so much for joining us. Hope you're having a really good day. And here on the left, I don't know if you can start spotting it, there is a relatively small beach. There is actually 3 beaches here on this side of the bay. And we're going to be seeing the one that became quite controversial during the time of the dictatorship. Because, in case you weren't aware, Spain was a dictatorship for quite some time, since 1939 up until 1975. And well, it was a very backward society for a really long time. Well, remember that I told you that in the palace we have the institution of the Menendez-Pelayo International University, and for a really long time, including now, we had international students coming mostly from France and Britain to do their lessons. And of course, in the summer times, they would come to this beach. Well, imagine, particularly in the 60s, all of these glamorous French and British women coming to the beach in their bikinis, while every other woman in Spain wouldn't even be able to contemplate that, because this was a very Catholic country and a very, dictatorial traditional regime. So, as these women started hanging around on this beach, it became literally the gossip of town. Those girls in those bikinis, and as such, over time, this beach that you see here, literally from what we call this, the Espigon, from this salient that goes into the water, all the way to roughly where the tree line ends, became known as the Bikinis Beach, because of these girls and their, very outrageous fashion as it was perceived at the time. It is super, super lovely. We're lucky because the tide is going down right now. So it's very, very nice. Thank you so much, Colleen. Thank you. You're very kind. Hi, Jessica. How are you doing? Thank you so much for joining us here in the Magdalena. Well, as I have a couple of things to tell you before we get the last few views of the beach a bit further up, I will go up. And unfortunately, the next story that I have to share with you has to do with one of the darkest moments in history in this town and of the country. So, like I said at the beginning of the tour, since I appreciate not everyone, is in the spirit to hear nasty things, I'm just telling you that the next stop will actually be talking about a particularly dark moment of the history of Santander during the 20th century. So if you don't want to hear about it, please just be warned that this is coming. Okay, I'll give you a forewarning when I am about to start talking about it as well. But it's just the building that you see approaching here on the right. So let me get there, because as you can see, the wind has actually taken a lot of the sand out of the beach. And then after that, we'll be able to see the views of the sunset right over the bay, which are actually quite nice, since I don't like ending things in, very horrible, dark places. So hopefully, despite what I have to share is quite heavy, hopefully it will redeem itself by the nice views that I'll give you later. Well, the building that you see here on the right, this is what we call the Caballerizas. This is essentially the old stable of the Magdalena Palace, used by Alfonso XIII and his wife Victoria Eugenia. Nowadays, as you can see, it's completely closed up. It is actually a cafeteria in the summer and a very popular restaurant for conferences and even for visitors, though quite pricey. Well, I'm just gonna put some pictures here, okay? So you can start figuring out what this may have been involved in. I will get to the exact spot where that photo was taken. This is part of the National and Local Archives. This is plenty recognized and aware of by a lot of historians, and yet is an aspect of our history that a lot of people in the city and even academics and mostly politicians refuse to accept. What you're seeing on the picture that I've just put on the chat is the prisoners that were kept here in Santander in the Caballerizas, which actually became the first concentration camp in Spain in history. Obviously, this takes place right at the end of the Spanish Civil War in 1939, and we believe, or at least we have records, that this concentration camp was operative until at least 1941, possibly even a little bit later. Indeed, Carla, those very, very poor people. Now, when I say concentration camp, it's not necessarily like the concentration camps we are used to in other parts of the world. This is the exact spot, by the way, as you can see, like for like. But this was essentially where the Franquist regime threw everybody that they considered to be dangerous or dissidents. So, if you were a supporter of the republic that they had removed, you ended up here. If you were anarchist, socialist, communist, If you said anything bad against the regime, if you were of certain ethnic minorities, particularly Roma, because we do have a big gypsy community in Spain, if you were a member of the LGBTQ community, and so on and so forth. I literally could just carry on listing the people that ended here. We don't have exact numbers because, unfortunately, during the period of the Civil War and the Franquist regime, the executions, the detentions, and everything else that happened, well, a lot of the archives were destroyed and a lot of the information was kept hush-hush. So we don't have exact numbers, guys. I cannot tell you, but it was in the thousands. Thousands of people were locked here and many of them died. And in fact, I'll show you just, unfortunately, the shot of the beach now where they were kept. They didn't care about letting them out in the beach because, well, since the Cantabrian Sea and even the bay are quite fierce, if you were planning on misbehaving, the water will take you. Hi, Isabella. I'm so sorry you've joined us in such a dreary moment of the tour, but this is something that I really need to talk about. A lot of people in Santander don't want to accept we were the first concentration camp of Spain, of the regime. A lot of people in Santander denied that there was a concentration camp here, or that people were killed, or that people were even assassinated, thrown from the top of the palace onto the bay or the water. But it is my job as a historian, of course, to make you aware that this happened. It honestly fills my heart with so much grief to have to accept that out of all of the places in Spain where this could have happened, and we had many concentration camps, this was the first one. Since Santander and the north of Spain particularly were quite fierce in the defense of the Republic, but unfortunately from the moment the Franquist regime sort of settled in here, it's something that kind of became a cancer of its own right. To this date, we still have many supporters of the fascist regime. No, not only men, Graziella. I think the picture only catches men, but there were also women being targeted by the regime. In fact, I have a personal story. My great-grandmother, so essentially my granny's granny, was actually about to be executed in the area of Cabo Mayor and the Cape, which some of you have seen either today with me in the distance with the Magdalena or in the area of El Sardinero. What they used to do is they would take you there on a long line and they will literally just waste one bullet, because why waste one bullet when gravity could do the rest, and just literally throw you over the edge. If they didn't fancy killing you, you would spend some time in here. And my great-grandmother was actually about to be shot and sent down the cliff when, fortunately, a raid from the from what they call the red side, the side that supported the Republic, saved her and a bunch of other people. Otherwise, if she would have been captured after that, she would have been here like a couple of her colleagues actually did. And eventually they were also killed. Those ones we know because it was actually a family record that we actually had kept. So unfortunately, it didn't matter if you were men or women. It was the same fate for everybody. Hi, Kate S. Hope you're doing good. I'm so sorry that you've joined in such a dreary part of the tour, but I hope you're doing good. When did Ernest Hemingway leave Spain? John, I'm actually not very sure on the date. He did spend an awful long time here, particularly down south. He visited Santander, but only briefly. But it was way earlier than that. I think it's in the 20s, but I'm not honestly clear on that information, so please don't quote me because I generally don't know. And well, as much as that is the horrible history of this part of town, I always think it's quite, a bit of an antithesis, because if I turn around here, you will see a kid's playground. So, it's kind of one of those very typical things that people with trauma do. We try to draw something bad that happened with something good that is for everybody to enjoy. And this is the playground where I grew up. I never knew until recently, when I was actually doing my PhD, what had happened here in Santander with the concentration camp and the rest. But such is unfortunately life, and such is, the history of Spain. But despite all of that, Santander particularly is trying very hard to do a facelift and stay away, not so much from our past and forget about it, but actually try to move on. And because of that, we tend to look a lot to the lovely gifts that nature gives us. We are very privileged to have the views that you're seeing right now. Unfortunately, yeah, you're absolutely right, Becky. It's 100% that way. So since we have trauma in land, we are always perpetually looking here to the sea, to the night sky, to the gifts that nature give us. Oh, look at the moon there. Oh, that's lovely. And this is very much what is becoming Santander's and Cantabria's way of trying to make up for the mistakes of the past. We're trying to use all of these lovely gifts that we have to share with the world so that people will want to come and give us a try, give us a chance so that we can redeem ourselves from our history and our past while trying to also share that information with the world. The building that you have illuminated in front of us, by the way, is one of the departments of the National Sailing School that helps train the sailing teams for the Olympics and everything else. And this is going to be roughly where the tour will end. But before we do that, I would like to take you to the beach level, if you're happy with that, so we can watch this lovely sunset and so you can get some lovely postcards. So let me get you there, because you guys know if I can avoid it, I hate ending on a sad topic. And if there is one thing Santander has plenty of is beauty, natural beauty everywhere. So now that I have shared the tragic history of my people, please also let me share the lovely gifts that I grew up with and that I actually wasn't able to appreciate throughout many moments of my life. Because, you know, when you have something like this, when you can literally walk to the beach in half an hour from your house, you don't appreciate it. You just do it. You just use it. And it wasn't until I moved to the UK when I was like, oh my God, that was so silly of me. No, I joke, but you know, it's one of those things that you learn to appreciate with time. Thank you so much, John and Corinne, for the tips. I very, very much thank you for that. Polly, what was so awful about Spain was not only was it, yes, but it was never properly, you're 100% Polly. It's still haunting us. It's still causing us problems. So that's also the reason why I'm quite sort of, I guess, prominent in talking about it, because I think it has to be spoken about it. And until we all know it, then we're not going to really be able to move on. Hi, Sylvia. Hi, Robert. Hi, Louis. You're kind of coming towards the end of the tour, but hopefully you'll be able to catch this lovely sunset with us. So please enjoy the views. Yes, you're absolutely right, Becky. We don't always appreciate the places that we live in until, you know, we move away from them. I cannot tell you how many times I've sat in this very exact place with a book, doing my homework, reading, preparing for exams, honestly, practicing my English. I used to come with a friend and we did the walk all around the bay to practice our English for the exams, you know, for the verbal exam that we had to pass. So I have actually really nice memories of this place, but I'm also glad that I have now this knowledge to really understand, you know, that even in beauty, there is sometimes tragedy, and that doesn't mean the beauty disappears. It just means that, well, things are complicated. Thank you so much, Michelle. Very much, very, very much thankful for the tip. Sam and Gibraltar, I live, oh, wow. Yes, you're 100% right, Sam. It was, and again, it's something that a lot of people didn't know back then because, well, no one, you know, everyone was none the wiser. Well, hi, Beth. Thank you so much for joining. Let me share with you guys this lovely sunset. I'm going to go all the way to the left, and then I'm going to do a swipe right, so then you guys can take all the postcards that you want before the light runs out. Thank you so much, James. Thank you. Very, very kind. Okay, and here we go. 1, 2, 3, go. It's my absolute pleasure, Michelle. That's what I'm here for. Hi, Kay. How are you doing? Thank you so much for joining us here in Santander Bay. Oh, a little bit of water spray has just jumped into the camera. Hold on, let me fix that. There we go. We're quite close to it, I guess. I'm so glad that you're enjoying it, Polly. Honestly, one of my favorite things to do is just coming. I'm not much of a morning person, but I have seen many, many, many sunsets here. And it is 100% worth it. And I mean, the bay is one view. I think some of you caught the sunset as well with me in El Sardinero the other night, which is also very stunning for different reasons. So there we go. Let's see if I can get you guys a shot of the bay and the moon now that the light is going down. I think that would be nice, but it's just a little bit high up. Ah, There we go. I think I got it. Excellent. Hi, Michael S. How are you doing? Thank you so much for joining. Sorry, the water spray keeps on getting me. And that's that. Well, before I run out of light and I cannot get out of here without seeing what I'm doing, I'm gonna have to say goodbye, guys. But I am gonna do one last swipe. Okay, so we're gonna go from the far right to the left and then back. Hola, hola, ¿qué tal? Oh, Graziella, I've heard about Sunset Beach, actually. I'm so glad that we have something like that in common. I'm so glad. Thank you so much, guys, for the messages and the feedback. Always appreciate it. And I'm just going to start the swipe to the left now, and then I'll do it one more time to the right. And then we'll have to call it there, I'm afraid, because otherwise I'll have a bit of a struggle getting out of here in the dark. I've done it many times, but my mom explicitly told me not to do it this time around. And I don't want to make my mom upset before I leave. So, Okay, and now I'll go towards the right, where I think we're just going to catch the last bits of sunset. Thank you, guys. Honestly, it's my pleasure to be able to share this with you. Because like I said, it's been a very important part of my life. And it's nice to be able to share something like that with people that also mean a lot to you. Because, you guys genuinely mean a lot to me. I look forward to every single tour, and honestly, I'm just so grateful to have met you all this year, and for all of your support. It genuinely means the world to me. And that is the end of the tour. I'm just gonna turn the camera around so I can say goodbye. Thank you so much, guys. I hope you have a really lovely day and rest of your week. And since I will not have another proper tour now until the new year, Happy New Year. And honestly, my best wishes for you for this 2023 are that you will have an spectacular year, that you will have really good health, which is something super important, and peace. I am really hoping we can all just enjoy a bit more of a blessed, peaceful time in 2023. There's so much hatred and horrible stuff happening in the world. I just hope we can all take a break from it. So thank you so much for joining. I'm so sorry, Noel. We're literally about to say goodbye. So thank you so much for joining anyway. Thank you so much, Alicia and Jan, for the tips. And I'll catch you in the new year. Mwah. Take care. Adios. I'll see you in the UK now. Bye-bye. Bye.